welcome everyone. My name is John Curran. I'm the president of ARMA New England, and welcome to the program we have today, Introduction to Internships. Ruth Edele, our VP of Membership, has put this together with some help from our team. And we have three wonderful panelists with us, Christina, Erin, and Jameson. And Ruth will go over a little detail about who they are and have a question and answer session with them. A little time on the back end to do a follow-up as well. I want to let you know about two upcoming events, one on the 29th of February, celebrating diversity. Then in March, we have an education certification program. Sue Gleason-Stewart is going to be heading that up. We're also organizing two other large events for this year. One is a golf event and another one is an education event. So at this time, I do want to ask anybody that is not a member of ARMA New England to go ahead and email Ruth, membership at armane.org. Send a message to her and we'll get you on board. But we're excited to have this program today. And again, thank you to our panelists and to Ruth for setting this up. We're going to get going. I'll hand it off to Ruth.
So good afternoon to all. I am the VP of Membership, as John said, and just yesterday I sent out the second edition of T-Chat, and there is another event coming up, John. It is the office hours on February 21st. For the first topic is going to be advocacy. So today we're doing an introduction to internships, and I'm going to let each of the panelists introduce themselves, tell what they do, where they work, who they are. So feel free to go in any order. Jameson, Christina, and Erin, and introduce yourselves.
Oh, sorry, Jameson. I'll hop right in. So hi, everyone. My name is Erin Kuchar. I'm the Assistant Director of Applied Learning at the University of Albany in New York. We are part of the SUNY system. Within UAlbany, I actually work in the College of Emergency Preparedness, Homeland Security, and Cybersecurity. And interestingly enough, within that college is our Masters of Science in Information Science. So that may seem a little weird that we are part of that college. We also have our program, our school certification for school librarians as part of our college. So the name doesn't really do us justice for what our programs are. But I work with students at the undergraduate and graduate levels across all of our programs, including our Masters of Science and Information Science program. I help to develop pipelines of internship opportunities and employment opportunities for our students at the undergraduate and graduate levels. And I also work to really make it cohesive career development within the curriculum in our college, so that I work closely and our college works closely with our career and professional development development office on campus, so that we ensure that we are really embedding curriculum, career development into our curriculum, in addition to all things internships and applied learning. So great to be here today. Can't wait to talk more about it.
My name is Jameson Van Zetten. I am the Director of Experiential Learning and Workforce Engagement at Bay Path University. We're a small private liberal arts college located in Western Massachusetts. I work across disciplines, so with the entire university at the undergraduate and graduate level, trying to connect students with employment opportunities, internship opportunities, and embedding experiential learning opportunities into classrooms. That involves a lot of coordination with faculty, just like Erin just said, and making sure that we are incorporating, best practices and National Association of Colleges and Employers best practices into our classroom and experiences as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Bedini. I'm the Assistant Director on the Corporate Partner Relations team at the University of Connecticut Center for Career Development. UConn has 32,000 students, 24,000 undergraduate students. We have 115 plus undergraduate majors, including 150 graduate programs with 14 schools. So we're quite a large university, and I work in the Center for Career Development, and I work with employers and connect them with UConn students.
And as well, there are resources in the chat. about internships. And you can copy and paste that. And the ARMA New England link is in there. So we're going to begin with the first question is, what is an internship? And feel free to start, Erin.
Okay, so from our perspective, when talking with our students at my college, we've really discussed internships as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for learning beyond the classroom. Kind of to make it as basic as possible. I talk to my students about internships being an opportunity to not only figure out what you want to do, but to narrow down maybe what you do not want to do. Any internship experience is going to be a positive, good experience for you because you're either going to find something that you truly enjoy doing, or maybe find something that actually, you know what, is not what you enjoy doing, and you now know to shift to another area. You now have the ability to talk to someone to say, hey, I did that internship. I liked this about it, but I didn't like this about it. What can I do next? What are my next steps? What are my next opportunities? I also really look at an internship as an opportunity to learn from professionals in the field. You are going to get no better experience or direct information than you will being in the field, learning from people that have been there 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. They're going to be able to speak to where the field has come, where it currently is, and where they see it going. And you'll be able to get a feel for if that is a good fit for you, if that's an area that you really want to continue pursuing. So again, it's really looking at an internship as an experience and a time for you to apply what you've learned in a classroom setting or in coursework to what you will do outside of the classroom world. So in that, outside of the university realm. And again, it goes back to really capitalizing and using your internship or an internship as an opportunity for you to grow and for you to learn. Talk to all the people. Really use it to your advantage to learn things that maybe you can't in the classroom. Ask lots of questions. If you have, most internships have a site supervisor, ask site supervisors questions. That's what they're there for, and really work with them. So at a very basic level, I explain it as an opportunity to learn and grow and to really find what you like and what you don't like.
I agree with you, Erin, there. An internship is a short-term learning experience that offers meaningful practical work at a company or organization. It involves projects or ongoing work that is purposeful and of a professional nature with direct supervision. Internships can be part-time during the academic year while the student's in class, and during the summer, it can be part-time or full-time, depending if the student is taking summer classes or not.
To piggyback off of that too, I always like to kind of pitch to employers the benefits of hosting interns too, because it does provide a benefit to them. So you get access to a fresh pool of talent that is well versed on the latest and greatest in education in the field, but also an opportunity to provide your staff with leadership development skills and engage in a new talent pipeline, so potential recruitment opportunities. We also focus lately on potential micro internships, so straying away from the larger full semester internship and really narrowing it down to maybe an hourly based internship or a short-term thing that can be embedded into a single classroom experience for a group of students, which is a really unique opportunity that's been coming down the pipe lately.
From employers, what do you hear are the benefits of the internship experience? And from the employer perspective and working with you all, what steps or how does one go about creating a potential new partnership for an internship?
Yeah, I could jump in here. The key benefit for employers is that it provides access to talent, similar to what Jameson was talking about. Internships are one of the main recruiting tools employers use to recruit early level college graduates. So one of the most significant advantages of providing internship is an opportunity to select, develop, and convert your future talent. Now, although not all internships lead to full-time offers, employers can evaluate and screen potential employees prior to a full-time offer, which could often lead to financial savings and possible employee retention. I think Jameson mentioned the National Association for Colleges Employers, otherwise known as NACE, which is a professional association many career services belong to for best practices, as Jameson mentioned. They came out with a 2023 internship and co-op report where it says interns who become employees are retained at higher rates than other hires. 75.5% are still with the organization after their first year on the job, compared to 51.5% of non-intern employees. So you can find out more about that information at their website at www.naceweb.org, I believe is the website.
And I can kind of jump in here and talk a little bit about how do you, approach maybe an organization, a company, a nonprofit about internships. We actually have a lot of students in that situation, and to kind of give you a little bit of background, we frequently promote out internship opportunities to our students for them to apply to and engage in. But we also tell our students, don't limit yourself just to what we're sending out. We obviously, we have in-person students and virtual students. So we have students from across the country. So we say, don't limit yourself to just what we're pushing out, but really explore other opportunities. Explore maybe agencies, government agencies, nonprofits, organizations in your hometown. In approaching them, what we frequently say is, if you go to someone to ask about maybe a potential internship opportunity, let them know that you're a student, what you are currently studying, and how or what you think you could do to help them as an intern. We have found here in New York, a lot of places would love to host interns and have internship programs. They just haven't done it yet, and they're not quite sure how to do it, how to navigate it. So oftentimes, whatever institution you may be at will have someone there, like myself, who can help an organization or a company navigate that and build an internship program. So for example, we have a student who is located in Vermont. She found a company there that she was really interested in working with. So she connected the owner of the company to myself, who the owner of the company said to me, I don't really know what I'm doing with an intern. I don't know how to start it. I'm not really sure what to do. I was able to work with the owner to talk through what the processes are, talk through the requirements. So sometimes it's as simple as connecting wherever you're interested in potentially being an intern with someone at your school or the college that you're in to help kind of guide them through that process. Because again, that seems to be one of the roadblocks that companies are facing, is they just don't know where to start and they're not familiar with the process. Or different universities, different institutions all have different processes, which can get really, really confusing. So it's nice to have a point person for them to refer to, for them to go to questions. So they're not just, emailing these general email boxes or calling a random number at an institution, hoping for that. So if there's a company or organization that you're interested in interning with, you can inquire with them if they have internship opportunities. And if they don't, go to them with a contact person at your institution who they can help work with to set up that opportunity.
Just to piggyback off that too, I think it's always really refreshing to see the reaction once we do speak with employers, to see how easy it is to actually set up this program, because offices like ours have processes in place to really assist with program development, evaluation materials, and just an overall structure to help guide the program itself. Many places also use different online marketplaces when it comes to matching students to internship experiences. So they usually assist with onboarding to programs like Handshake or Ripen or different platforms like that, which are basically online marketplaces that universities subscribe to connect students and employers for these short-term internship opportunities as well as long-term job opportunities.
Right, and recruiting platforms like Handshake and Simplicity, there's so many out there that target the higher ed population that universities work with. Also list their fairs and events. So if you're interested in attending a career fair, for example, which many universities host in the fall and the spring, and you can go on to Handshake and just shop around and see what events are happening at the universities, the dates, the times. Career fairs come in all shapes and size and forms. Some are specific to industry, major, and jumping onto that higher ed platform such as Handshake or Simplicity, and there's many out there. You could learn a little bit more about which career fairs universities are hosting. So that's a great way to create a partnership with universities, and you could post your jobs there and internships and any events that you'll be hosting on your own too as an organization. So career fairs, higher ed recruiting platforms, and contact the Center for Career Development. Also, we all have different types of employer engagement opportunities for employers, some more direct recruiting opportunities and some more indirect opportunities. So a direct recruiting opportunity, maybe examples, a career fair where you come to campus and you meet with our students and you have a table and you get to speak to students about your internship opportunity or job opportunity. An indirect opportunity to meet with students may be a presentation in a classroom on a career topic. You're coming in as an expert on that career topic and you're sharing it with students and you're helping them learn in the career development process. There's also paid partnerships some university career centers have, where you can sponsor an event, a career event that they'll be hosting. And this is an opportunity maybe to put your logo on their website or social media platform. Every university who has sponsorship opportunities have different benefits, so you can inquire about that. But that's also another type of partnership you could create with universities.
Thank you, Jameson. I was interested in hearing more about your idea around micro-learning and integrating that into the classroom and how you are seeing that currently and what is a future goal or opportunity that you see it going towards, and what do you think the impact will be down the road of this idea of having a micro internship, and what ways can employers assist you with this new idea and new concept?
Yeah, so right now we actively host one class that every student at the university is required to take that is solely, it focuses on micro internships. So each student takes a 40-hour project with an employer sponsor that is closely related to their major. And through that, they go through an onboarding. It's entirely remote. They go through an onboarding process. They get kind of incorporated into the workflow with the organization. And then they have a specific project that is outlined at the start of the experience and approved by the instructor and by our office as well. And they provide multiple points of check-in with the instructor to ensure that the students are doing a good job and that there's no questions. But most importantly, it's a fantastic opportunity for professional feedback within the field. And it's an opportunity for students to engage within their major and get a new experience added to their resume for professional development opportunities. Right now, we are working with a lot of organizations surrounding like content development, research, writing, grant writing. They tend to be like the perfect size projects for about a 40-hour project for a group of 3 to 4 students. So if you have like a 200-hour grant, 5 students is a perfect fit. And it gives them a great opportunity to add something to their resume while also adding a benefit to your organization as well. Most career services can help connect any sort of organization, whether it's a nonprofit organization, a professional organization, or a for-profit organization, with opportunities like these too. And they can also be remote or in person. They can also be paid or unpaid. Most of them just do it for academic credit and the experience, with the understanding that most of the benefit comes from the professional feedback and mentoring opportunities and networking opportunities that the students are getting at the time.
Thank you. That's a really interesting concept, Jameson. So do you, besides being a point person for the employer, do you see employers assisting each other in building internships? do you see the employers networking together to maybe do collaborative internships? Is there an effort, if an organization is maybe needing to have a partner in order to say that this is plausible? Do you ever see that option or an idea within the internships that are being offered within the fields or realms?
So I can kind of jump in here. So we haven't at this point seen separate internships, potential internship sites working together. But what we have seen is, and I can kind of speak for New York State, obviously New York State public employer, there are a lot of different departments and divisions within New York State. So what we have seen in the past year actually is some of those offices and departments working together, or some of those offices and departments, I don't want to say sharing interns, but sharing interns. Perhaps utilizing those interns in both spaces for exposure for the student, but also then for the agency within New York State to find a best fit. There are times where internship sites and students may run into, they aren't a great fit. So that is a great opportunity then for, an alternative plan. So we have seen that in a slightly different iteration. Like I said, it's all under the umbrella of New York State, but agencies under New York State working together and sharing interns and kind of that cross collaboration. So for example, within New York State ITS, there is the GIS office who has been working with what they call one of their other stacks. So one of their other stacks, they are working together. So there has been a cross collaboration of the interns in each of those offices, and they've been working together. So we have seen that started, which it's been interesting to see now. With that being said, they are still, their HR department, all of their interns are kind of housed above. So there is a bow that does tie them together. So they aren't completely separate, but we are starting to see some of that happening interagency.
Thank you, Erin. And as you're working with employers, you said you have processes and a structure for it. What are some of the processes and what are some of the structures of the conversation that you might have with an employer?
Yeah, so I can kind of speak to that a little bit. So typically what I do is when I meet with employers, I do explain to them what the internship program is at our undergraduate and graduate levels. Even if they're only looking for students from one of the levels or the other, I find it more beneficial to just kind of go through both to give them a better, more clear understanding, because from our perspective, they are slightly different. So what I do is I explain both the undergraduate internships and the graduate internships. I explain what is expected of the students at each of those levels, what our expectations are of the students, what their requirements will be. Our students, if they are looking to get credit for an internships, they have to be required, or they are required to be registered in their appropriate internship class, which we control. So I also explain to the employer what that internship class consists of. It is curriculum that we have developed within our college. It does have the components of professional development, and students do reflect on their internship experience. So I explain the what is happening in that course. Again, it is different at the undergraduate and graduate level. And then I go through the paperwork and responsibilities of the internship site. A lot of times people come to me and say, okay, as an internship host or a site, what is expected of me? So I then go through the expectations of the internship site or the host. So to kind of give you some insight into that, we do require the site supervisor or mentor, whichever word you would like to use. We do require them to fill out a learning agreement with the student right at the start of the internship at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. They do look a little different, but essentially it's a scaffolding plan of what the intern, what the student will be doing throughout the course of the semester, with the understanding that things do shift and change, but that kind of gives some framework and an understanding for the student to know what they're going to be doing. So we do require the internship site to do that. We then also ask that at the midway point, when the supervisor receives a link from us, it's a kind of a halfway point checkpoint, that they fill it out. It's just feedback on the student. It takes them about 3 minutes to fill out. And it's a way to just kind of red flag, hey, we're having an issue here, or no, everything is good. And then at the end of the semester, we do ask the site supervisor to fill out an end of semester feedback. So similar to that midpoint feedback, but it is a little bit beefier at the end of the semester. It does have a little bit more substance to it. It does take about 5 minutes to fill out. And it is feedback on the student and their experience in the work and how their work ethic was. So again, and I kind of outline that for the employer, just so that they know what it looks like for the semester. And then I always mention that we do ask for the feedback at the midway point and at the end point, and about how long it takes, because sometimes people will say to us, well, is this going to take us hours? And I always like to assure them that we aren't looking to add more work on the employer's end, and that we want this to be a mutually beneficial experience for student, for employer, and for the institution as well.
Thank you, Erin. How do,
I could jump
So
in.
what-
Oh,
yes, go
sorry.
ahead.
I could jump in and talk a little about at the UConn Center for Career Development, because we have 115 majors and undergraduate majors in 14 schools. I tend to, when I get an employer call, learn about their recruiting goals. The majority of the time they're coming to me with an internship program that they have developed, and they're interested in connecting with talent. So my primary goal is to understand their recruiting goals, the skills that are needed for their internship program, learn a little more about it, so I can kind of direct them and help them navigate the university and where we can promote their opportunities and where they could connect with our student talent. So we have a career fair or an internship fair coming up, and it's within their recruiting timeline. I may introduce them to a career fair. I listen a lot when I talk to employers on what their goals are. And sometimes I do get an employer who will reach out, who are brand new to the internship world and wants to learn a little more about creating an internship program. And we do have on our website resources to help employers develop that plan. So I start with introducing them with the basics of where to start, getting support from senior leadership, identifying value, understanding the purpose of the internship program, what are their expectations, their goals, and help them just think about more of a solid structure, and most of all, meaningful tasks for the roles. When an employer comes to me with that, we talk a little about that. And then ultimately, we want them to post in Handshake, the recruiting platform that we use here at UConn, so I could promote it to students in what matches what they're looking for. So that's typically my calls with employers, is a lot of listening and consulting with them about their job and internship opportunities.
Thank you, Christina. Jameson, do you have thoughts on this question?
Yeah, so much like Christina just said, we talk a lot about needs. So what sort of needs does your organization have? But we do a very similar thing as Erin, in that we draw up a learning contract for every student individually with the internship site. We do create templates for different organizations for most of the basic information to kind of take a little bit of the lift off. But for the most part, though, we really focus on the meaningful education piece of it, as well as the tangible learning outcomes at the end of the experience, to try to tie them back to the academic program. So we bring up our academic catalog, we talk through it with employers just to say, these are the learning outcomes that are desired in this program. So this is at the end of their degree, this is what we hope our students have gained. What from this list do you think you would be able to provide to a student in this experience? And that tends to kind of get the gears turning when it comes to developing those meaningful activities, and just talking through the experience and the structure. On the other side, we also do a lot of just logistics. So talking about what sort of onboarding is required. Is there any sort of specific trainings that they're going to have to go through? Like, does it need to be HIPAA compliant? Do they need to go through any sort of lab safety training? Is there dress requirements if they're in a lab? Like very specific kind of minute things that can often be overlooked when a student shows up to their first day of work. We want to make sure that we've got all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And then that way, that the employer isn't scrambling on the back end once an intern does show up at their front door.
Thank you. And you've mentioned that sometimes the internship and the student won't match. What are the steps taken when that is noticed, and how is it reconciled and mediated in a healthy fashion for both sides when that occurs?
I will gladly chat about that. So one thing that's really nice is if you do have an internship that is required for to be done for credit. So Ruth, you had mentioned that earlier on the call. I think that your internships is required to do them for credit. So from our perspective, when a student is doing something for credit, they are directly attached to a faculty member that is working with them on that class. And then an additional layer is here, we have someone like myself. So there are 2 layers and 2 points of contact to work directly with the student. So if there is ever an issue, again, it would come at like that midway point for us, that, that little bit of that red flag of the student is showing up, they're coming, but they're maybe not doing X, Y, Z up to our standards. That is a great checkpoint for myself and the instructor of the course to sit down with the student, either in person or virtually, and say, hey, how is this internship going? Like, give them a safe space to have the conversation. Sometimes it's as simple as the student just not understanding some of the norms of what is expected in the workplace yet. We often have students who will maybe have previously worked in, say, the fast food industry, and are now working in a private company, and they just haven't really wrapped their head around, how does that look different? Not that one is right or wrong, not that the way that management works at one or the other is better or worse. They are just different. And so helping the students understand what are those differences and what they can do to shift their maybe behaviors or shift whatever it is that they're doing or not doing to make the experience more successful for them. And I think we do spend time, if we have a student in this situation, helping them to understand that we are looking for this to be a successful experience for them. And what does that look like? Again, trying to paint that picture for them. We do work with a lot of first-generation students here that just have not really had that experience of painting that future picture. So we really work with them on that in the realm of, an internship. Then we also will then meet with the employer if they want. Sometimes they're like, no, actually things have now worked themselves out. Other times they do want to meet. And then if it were to go or escalate beyond that, we would sit down, myself, the student, and the employer, to see where the gaps are, to see what the disconnect is, to hopefully try and work through that and create a plan that is most successful, again, for the student and for the employer, and least disruptive. Usually those steps typically will take care of any awry situations. And it's just that human aspect. While we do a lot of AI work in our college, we still love the human aspect. And sometimes the human aspect is really just what's needed, and understanding where the student's coming from and helping them paint the picture and understand what the expectations are and what those expectations look like.
Christina or Jameson, do you have thoughts on this question?
Well, when an employer comes and posts an internship with us, they are in full control of who they choose. We don't make any placements out of our office. The employer makes that decision on who they're going to hire. And if anything arises, I mean, a student is more than welcome to come into the Center for Career Development and talk to a career coach about it. But it's basically the employer will post the job and handshake, and they will either choose an external link or an internal link, which is handshake, to review resumes, or have the student fill out the application. And then they just take it from there and decide on the interview process, obviously, and then decide on who they will recruit. So that's pretty much our process at the Center for Career Development.
So for us, we are much in line with Albany in terms of having direct contacts that we provide at the start. So they get a faculty mentor in their course, and they also have a contact directly at our career center. So should any issues arise, they know exactly who to contact. And we send out messaging very regularly at the start of the experience to reinforce that communication pipeline. I'm actually working with one today that is this, so this is very fresh in my mind about this process, unfortunately. But if there is a certain violation that is really just, it's not in line with the company's goals and needs for the organization, we do have processes in place as a backup if the student is no longer able to continue. So maybe something like a HIPAA violation or something like that, where the organization is no longer willing to host a student. But we use it as a teachable experience for the student, and we talk it through with the organization and really express our gratitude for hosting the organization, but also the opportunity for feedback that they provided to the student. We really hope that they will engage and provide that context surrounding the experience and what went on, and what can be done moving forward to ensure that that doesn't happen again for professional growth.
Thank you. So we're getting towards the end of our question time for this introduction to internships. So what do you see for the future, and any wrap-up thoughts? And feel free to share your contact details in the chat. And we will start with Jameson.
Wait, sorry, I missed the question.
So just any wrap-up thoughts and any additional or ideas, details you would like to share, and your contact information, things like that.
Sure, I'll drop my contact in the chat. But first off, I want to express my gratitude for hosting us, because it's always awesome to connect with individuals who potentially haven't explored this avenue yet and are interested. Hopefully we've communicated that it's not as hard as it seems, and that there are lots of different ways that you can connect with new talent and new mentoring opportunities for your staff and for your professional development as well, to bring just a new mind into the team. So I just want to thank you all so much for having us.
Erin?
Oh.
Sure, Christina, go.
I'll jump in and say again, thank you for having me as well. I enjoyed this very much, and very much enjoyed spreading the word about internships. And yeah, I encourage you to reach out to the Center for Career Development and talk to someone like me on the employer relations team, who can introduce you to the university and our students, and take you through the process of finding an intern at the university. There's lots of engagement opportunities universities have, so you can meet students in person. So, and I'm happy to drop my contact information in the chat as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I did put my email in the chat. If anyone would love to want to touch base, please feel free. I'm available to chat. I'd be happy to. As my colleagues have said, we really appreciate just kind of this time to talk about this. This is a great avenue, I think, for employers as a recruitment tool and an opportunity to continue to grow. I think from our perspective, we see the internships becoming more robust as we continue on. We've had great opportunities for internships for our students in the past, and I have now just see it's really starting to grow with the ability for things to be remote or hybrid, I see a lot of new opportunities as well. So obviously there's an appropriate place for in-person, for remote, and for hybrid, and I would consider that people explore all of those opportunities to really give yourself a diverse pool of students to work from in different areas.
Thank you. I'm going to open up the floor to any questions, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question to the panelists.
I had a couple of questions. One was first of all, thank you for being on this program today. That's great. Really appreciate your time and effort to share about internships here. One thing is, I'm sure one of the things you really love about your job is seeing a success. Do you have metrics or the success stories that you kind of track along the way? You can show to people getting into the internship program, or show to the potential employers and employees. But how do you measure your success stories?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. A lot of that information from our perspective is very anecdotal. And the reason behind that is as a university, we do utilize a first destination survey for our undergraduate students. So there is a lag in getting that data. So for example, it is January 2024. And we just got the May 2022 data finally visualized and everything last month. So there is a bit of a lag, and it's also only at our undergraduate level. Our university at the moment just doesn't have the capacity to do that at the graduate level. So we try our best as a college to collect as much data as we can, but then of course we run into issues with our institutional review board being on board and approving surveys going out to our students beyond the university level. But what we do is we actually keep a database of our own of students where they have interned and if they have continued on to work there. There is sometimes a gap where they may graduate and then a year or two later go on to work for that company. So there would be a gap in those instances, but we do try to keep our own database at the undergraduate and graduate levels of internships or interns, their sites, and if they continue there after their degree completion. So that's just a way that we can kind of show internship sites what those outcomes look like.
Thank you.
We also,
have a hand up here.
I
Oh,
just
go
wanted
ahead.
to say, we do also administer the first destination survey to our students, and we do have that all available on our website. In fact, I could share, I was looking for the link right now. I could share the link in the chat with that. But we have, for example, the 2022 to 2023 positive outcomes rate of 92% as of 6 months post-graduation. So we have all that information accessible to the public on our website, and you'll be able to also use a tool to toggle a specific majors and where they end up, top employers, salary, and major, like I said. So I'll share that in the chat for you. Thank you.
And just to follow up, we do the same with the Next Steps survey and our organization, but we also collect anecdotal information via evaluations at the end of the experience from the employer. And we do anecdotally always request that if they do end up hiring one of our students, that they follow up with us and let us know. It happens very rarely that they do let us know, but sometimes we find out a career fair down the road, somebody pops in and says, oh, hey, we hired our intern from last year. And then we get that information. But ideally, our next step surveys would come back a lot faster and we'd be able to really, turn that information around real quick, but we can't.
Thank you.
So
Hugo
John,
has his hand up there.
Yep. Feel free to unmute if you have a question. So this is the start of the internship conversation. Is there a question?
It was more of a comment that I've had 3 interns in the past and 1 converted to full-time, and they're great workers. And I wanted to thank the speakers and just encourage other people on the call to reach out to them. Thanks.
Thank you, Angel. And this will be the first of learning about internships. So expect more info to come out as this year goes along. So I'm just really glad that this could be put together today, that we all came together. And I'm just really appreciative of each panelist because this was really interesting and very informative.
I'll add to that. I appreciate it as well. And if you guys need any help from ARMA New England or ARMA International, we'd love to get more integrated to what you're doing there. We have professionals in the area that are on the board. We have members that are also professionals that can maybe help you out and your students. So feel free to reach out to us as well. I know you've had some conversations with Ruth, but let's expand on that and grow this a bit.
So I hope all have good afternoons.
This was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you, John.